Another review: Breaking Bad, episode 6, season 1, titled "Handful of Nothing." Now, I'm like, oh, the episode starts off like this, and I feel like that. I'm jumping around, but this is a turning point in the series. They stepped up a lot in this episode. Like, for instance, the beginning of the episode starts off with something that's happening in the future, so it's somewhere down the line in the episode. Come to find out, it's the end of the episode. It draws you in because it's a whole mess of excitement. So with that, you're already hooked from the last episode, and then when you see this little piece, now you're really intrigued. Is that the right way? Is it the right way to use that word? I don't know, but now you really want to watch the rest of the episode. So got to scratch. So I wouldn't say as soon as that little sequence is over with, it starts to disappoint, but it goes back. It goes back into traditional storyline. Basically, it's like, well, it starts giving you more information. You're following Mr. White in this episode, of course, Pinkman. Oh, and the introduction of well, you get a closer look at more of one of you get a closer look at one of Pinkman's friends, which I feel like that would be the best tattoo. Skin, what's his name? Say his name was Skinny Pete or something like that. That has to be the best nickname or name of any character in the show so far. Skinny Pete. I'm Skinny Pete, man. I just think it's hilarious. So goes down. His wife is still his wife's character, Mrs. White, is still struggling to understand the whole situation. I mean, he hasn't given them much. Of course, he's the cat's out of the bag supposedly. Well, I don't know why I said that, but the cat's out of the bag as far as his cancer goes. But of course, his family still has no idea about his extracurricular activities, if you will. It was just my dog. Um, there's some tense moments in there that leave you kind of on the edge of your seat. The mask that made its appearance. I don't know why I'm talking like that, but the respirator that was used in like the first episode or second episode. It wasn't the first episode. It was a couple episodes back, and the first time they cooked, and he winds up thrown in the desert. That makes an appearance. It comes back. So now he's under uh, the microscope, if you will, and Mr. White is, of course. He's under the microscope. And of course, who's assigned to this case? His brother-in-law. His brother-in-law with the dad jokes, left and right. He's a kind of a corny guy, but he carries a gun, so he's exciting. But he's a corny guy. The character is corny, okay? Um, yeah, his wife is still struggling with everything, and they're showing. I think they're building empathy for Mr. White in this episode more than anything else. They're building empathy, and then at the end, it leads to a change of his. How should I phrase this? It leads to um, what most people commonly have to do in society. When you go out in society, you have to wear a mask, so to speak, something that allows you to feel protected out in the public. And in this episode, he's able to create an alter personality, Heisenberg. Now, I did Google the name to try and figure it out. I feel like I've heard it before, so I looked at his. I think only thing I didn't go too in depth. I didn't go crazy. I didn't really go down the rabbit hole, but his life is his lifeline. I think he was born in early turn of the century, 1900, something like that. Um, and lived all the way to the 70s. So he lived through. He was a child during World War One. I do everything. It's just me. I do everything based off major wars. It's a little weird, I know, but so he was a child during World War One, and he would have been an adult around World War Two. I think he actually, if I read Wikipedia right, he actually got the Nobel Peace Prize right before World War Two, and was it 39? Was it 39 or 36? The Olympics that year before World War Two. They were big points, and yet he is German born, so he had to play a part in what was going on over there. Tangent. Get back to the show. So couldn't find anything of interest. Why he would choose that name? Why he would choose that name as his alter ego? I have to, probably gonna have to Google a little bit more to figure it out. But he's basically in the same field as Mr. White. I don't see. I have to do more research. I should. It would be nice if I did more research. But you never know in these situations why you chose him. Maybe he did something radical or made him feel tough. I don't know. But again, the actor who plays Mr. White does a great job. I know I'm skipping ahead, but I can't get that scene out of my mind. Oh, well, I guess I don't have to skip ahead. So, Pinkman, so him and Mr. White come to an agreement to start manufacturing again. And while they're doing that, Pinkman's, I don't know how to phrase it. Pinkman's doing his best to sell whatever they made, but he's giving away more than he's selling, so the profit's not there. It's a risk you take in any business. You give away free samples, not only in illegal businesses such as drugs. You do it in legitimate businesses as well. Far as I know, hey, come get this free sample, but it's usually pretty small, and it's pretty small, and it won't affect your profits. Shouldn't affect your profits, but in this case, it is affecting his profits. So they get into an argument. What's going on? And in this argument, I think is it in this argument or shortly after this argument, Pinkman realizes you find out something else about Pinkman. You realize that Pinkman was there in the last months of his aunt's life, who also had cancer, and he finds out that Mr. White has cancer. So now they're bonding on another level, I guess. Um, but they come to understanding, like, we're not gonna make any profit doing this. So Mr. White actually winds up telling Pinkman, grow some balls. So Pinkman goes out, finds somebody who can buy a large quantity, gets the crap beat out of him. He gets beat with a bag of money and kicked in the ribs. Ooh, pretty traumatic. Skinny Pete, of course, is there, just being Skinny Pete. I'm sorry, that's a funny name. So, I'm trying to think what else happens in the. But yeah, this is when Mr. White starts to shine. This is when his character starts to shine. When he figures out what happens to Pinkman, he goes there. Give me the name. I need to know everything. He's already losing his hair to completely transform into this alter ego or this other personality. He decides to shave his hair. It's already fallen out. He decides to shave it all the way off. Now he has a shaved head. He goes into it already knowing what's going on. Already having a plan on what he's gonna do. He doesn't. At this point, I feel like the characters has shed away some of his rigidness. If that's a good way to put it. So he winds up going and finding the guy. Well, he winds up going to the guy's location, with more product, which looks like more product, but it's not. It's something. So I can't even say a word. It's like mercury something. It's really. I googled that too. I couldn't help myself. I googled that too, and I could have went down a rabbit hole on that one because there was a whole bunch of links, MythBusters and other things. Does that stuff really happen? But uh, apparently, what he had is used as a uh, 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 used in a manner to set off a explosive charge. This powder, because it chemistry is fun. I have to say, it's it causes a reaction with just like really basic friction. Is what I gathered from the Google search. So he has that. Oh, they're going back and forth trying to dig measure and things like that. And the guy showing how crazy he is, and he's like, "Oh, you got one thing wrong. That's not a drug." I like, what? They did the slow mo, like he's a fucking wizard. Throws on the ground, blows up all the windows. Everybody in there has to be a bit concussed. I don't know. Yeah, personally, I'm not sold on the reality of that small amount of that substance causing that big of an explosion or that big of a shockwave to go through that room. I don't know. Not a scientist. Don't know. But, again, the actor who plays Mr. White is just he's throwing all his cards on the table in this one. I mean, he is acting his ass off. Once they get done with the scene, he's got the money. He's walking out good. He gets in the car, pulls the money out. He looks at it, closes his eyes, fully elated, just elated. You can believe everything he's doing in that moment, and that's why I'm completely invested in the show right now. I can say that confidently. With that performance, I am gonna stick this thing through to the end, and that's all I can say. See you guys tomorrow with Futurama. Have a good night.